G'day guys, welcome back to Life on the Mould. I've just zipped in for a quickie and whacked a shorty together after our last week's epic. This week I'll finish off the foam on the bridge deck and laminate up the back end of the boat, which has been my working area for some time. And yep, there's more time on my knees. And a bit later on I'll start putting some of the modules that I've already made into the hull, just to check out where my foam issues are going to be, and I might actually alert you to some of those as we go forward. So welcome back, and about time we get into it. I've just put down this last bit of 30mm foam on the bridge deck, and I think it's important to note that it has around about 5 or 6 mils of the sea light foam bedding compound underneath it, and then I vibrate the roller in. It's vital that I get it to actually work its way up through those perforations that are in it, and they're actually a requirement under the AMSA, or the Australian Maritime Safety mandate, or the schedule that I'm working to. The vibrating roller helps to sort of vibrate those things up in there, but you can see the difference here, and when I vibrate it, how much actually comes up. You can see here, by vibrating it in, it's almost dead level, and how much more comes up through that slot. It's already worked its way up through those perforations, and then the resin will go down into it and hold it in place once the glass goes down on this later on today. But this roller has been an absolute winner. I mean, I don't really know where you'd buy them anymore. I borrowed it off a friend who was a bit of a boat builder, and he's such a top bloke. He's lent it to me pretty much indefinitely until I finish the job. But yeah, getting this foam bedded down has been, it's not as difficult as I thought it was going to be, but it certainly isn't an easy job. It's time consuming and requires a lot of weight and a lot of weighting. I have to trim off the excess of this chamfer panel here. You can see how I've sort of gone down to 45 degrees here and gone down over the edge here. This is the last piece on the bridge deck. I've got to trim it off so we'll get our straight edge here and line it up and work out how to cut it with the saw. I use a little battery power saw like this just to take the rough edge off, and then I use a flat disc grinder to take off the main edge to get it nice and smooth, so that I get a beautiful sort of beveled edge over the edge of the chamfer panel for the glass to lay down onto. Beautiful. So I've actually discovered that this little fella, this little tacker here, is one of the best things for roughing in the foam. You just get a really accurate edge with it, and then you can just sand it back and finalise it. So that is about $5. You know, it's one of the best little tools. You can carry it everywhere, and for foam, absolutely brilliant. Right, you can see here I've got about an 8cm glass void or boundary at the end of the foam, and that gives me the ability to be able to lay the glass down into it and give me a really solid glass chine, I guess, around the back of the lounge suite or the stern of the boat here. You can see here we've got a little bit of rough, a bit of rough edges where the templating wasn't exactly accurate, but what I do now is I just come along with that flap disc grinder and sand it back and get it nice and smooth. Make sure there's no voids, no gaps, and then I can glass straight down onto the glass. So these things, sorry, I got my mask on.
These things here have just been invaluable. I've gone through probably 2 or 3 doing this phone, so it's pretty reasonably abrasive on the flap disc. But the nice thing about it is I get a really good control. It's surprising how much control you can get with a grinder. So you can see here I've got a pretty smooth finish along here. We'll give it a light sand to the hand block and just get it all nice and level, and that's ready for glassing basically. We're just you know, getting that nice little edge here, particularly this radius here, so we don't end up with any air bubbles.
A little bit of a high spot here. Perfect.
It's been a couple of days, 2 days since I laid this tyre layer down. I got a bit busy going out for a sale on Sunday, so I didn't get a chance to get the second layer of 600 double bias down on the end of this bridge deck here just to finish it. It's only about 2 metres, but it's very important that I get a chemical bond again. So what I've done is I've basically sanded the entire surface of this, all this area here. Just get out of the way here. Basically from this line here, straight across all the way to the back there and over that little panel there, 120 grit sandpaper, so it's nice and rough. And now the key is to get a chemical bond and to whack this stuff on it, this styrene monomer. If I wipe this now over the whole surface just before I laminate it again, I'm going to end up with a good chemical bond. Righto, so I've found with this 600 double bias, it's better off to lay it out dry because it's only quite a thin substrate, and then I'll spray over the top and really consolidate it. Trying to lay it out on wet resin has been a bit of a problem for me, trying to get it straight. So I'm doing end pieces because I'm sort of trapped myself in here, so I'm going to lay this out dry. By doing this, I can sort of get it all nice and straight, get all the air out of it before I even get it down. Laminating is getting the bubbles out, so get them out before you start. And winning.
This layer here is a $600 bias, as I mentioned earlier. If I laid it out dry and then consolidated over the top, I found that I got no air bubbles, and it was quite easy to lay out in that respect. Because it's 45 degrees and 45 degrees with the stitching, it was quite difficult to keep in a straight matrix, I guess. And by laying it out dry, although I possibly use a touch more resin in doing this, it saved me a lot of mess and a lot of extra effort. But yeah, it went down pretty easily, and yeah, basically ready for its final layer of 300, and the whole bridge deck's complete.
So I'm just sort of sitting bits in place, and we've just set the back steps in, and we're seeing a fairly significant gap in the side there, which is allowing for the 30mm foam. I'm concerned that it's not going to fit, but clearly there's about 5 to 6 centimetres there, so that's pretty much 2 layers of 30mm foam. Lots of room underneath that step there, basically to put in the rudder base and inspection hatch, and then there'll be a bulkhead pretty much that'll take up this whole frame right up to the top of that chamfer panel there, and that'll then have a ring in it, and then we can have access hatches through the back steps into the engine bay, which is going to give us good access into the engine here, and also a similar one under the bunk. A little bit of progress. I've got a nice, neat, clean workshop for the first time since I started building it. I think I'm pretty much got nice and neat, and we've also set this bathroom module in. So this will give you an idea of the clearance underneath our port head. I've probably got about 70 centimetres, which is a bit surprising. It's exactly right what I'm supposed to have, but 70 centimetres is a significant amount of bilge. So within that bilge, I'm going to have water tanks and fuel tanks in this area here. So start planning those as of today. I can start putting in bulkheads, starting to think about the limber holes that I need to put in to make sure I get good drainage down through this bilge. Put the port head in here just to get positioning. It's pretty much about where it needs to be. I think it's possibly a centimetre or so. Not square, but give me a good feel for the sort of room that I need. I've got another big module that'll wrap around this bilge, around this head, and yeah, plenty of room to work with, certainly with reinforcement and extra foam to strengthen up these modules.
Right, well there it is, fellas, the end of another epic. It's only 14 minutes. I think that's actually pretty good in my books. Normally they're over 20 minutes. I can't seem to edit them down. Getting that bridge deck laminated and down to one more layer of 300 is a pretty significant milestone for me. It means I can start putting in modules, bulkheads, etc. Listen, one thing I need to do, I was away a couple of weeks ago for a weekend sailing on my trailer sailor with Janet, and came home, and my email and my subscriptions had just exploded. Now what actually happened was Doug over at SV Seeker over in the States gave me a bit of a rap, and even though it's a white icky sticky plastic boats channel, my channel, he's given me a bit of a rap and said that you know, people should join me, and so many of you did, and I'm stoked that you did. So thanks very much, Doug. You're an absolute legend, and mate, I love watching you work with steel as much as you love watching me work with fibreglass. At the end of the day, there's another fellow that I've got to really say good day to, and that's young Reese over in Ireland. This whole YouTube thing for me has taken me a little bit by surprise, and you know, I'm talking to guys all over the world at the moment about different projects, and I'm loving the interaction
And young Reese is doing this steel boat refit over in Ireland in some pretty ordinary weather. I mean, we're talking snow, sleet, rain, and getting the job done. And I think you should check him out. It's Frantic Sailing Adventures, and a cracker of a channel, because it shows the work that goes into even refitting a boat can often be more than it is in actually building one. So, g'day Reese, you're a champion, bud. And yeah, so if you'd like this video, give me a like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. Share it out to your friends. And in the coming weeks, I've got some pretty big things coming up on this channel. And I suggest you check back in, because if you're interested in boat building, there's a couple of opportunities that might just sort of come your way. And I've researched it and sussed out something that just might appeal to one or maybe two or even three of you. Look out for it in the next few episodes of Life on the Mould, and I'll catch you soon.